Myne and Lutz sat together, working out the economics of their hairpin venture. On the surface, the plan seemed straightforward. Hire their families to help make flower parts and pin parts, but Myne had a deeper purpose in mind. This wasn't just about earning money, it was about teaching Lutz to think like a merchant, not merely a worker. We'll pay 2 mid-coppers for each flower part and 1 for each pin part, Myne explained, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. That way we can split the remaining 2 coppers between us. She watched Lutz's face carefully as he worked through the implications. His confusion cleared gradually. You want me to do this so I can be a merchant? He'd remembered her earlier explanation about the difference between a worker and a merchant. Workers did the labor themselves, merchants managed others doing the work. Exactly. Don't you want to try copying Benno? Myne leaned forward. You'll need to study hard over winter if you want your apprenticeship to go well, and that won't be possible if you're spending all your time making pins, though you'd get more money if you did. She understood it didn't feel great taking money from family, but if he wasn't willing to do business with them, becoming a merchant would be much harder. Given how fast my family works, we'd only make about 30 hairpins per month at best. We don't want leftover pins, so I thought you could ask your family to make 30 pins monthly and take a handling fee. Lutz stared at the ground, thinking hard. Then his head shot up, determination settling into his features. I'll give it a shot. The thread needed storing at Myne's place, so Lutz carried it up the stairs for her. Her family naturally stopped their work to investigate when she came home with such a colorful bundle. Lutz, why all the thread? Her mother asked, directing the question to Lutz, not Myne, which stung a little. Myne explained quickly. This is thread for making hairpins. Benno bought it so we can sell the finished products to him. This is my winter handiwork, so please don't use it for anything else, okay? Her mother, impressed, handed Lutz a tiny jar of freshly made jam. He took it with shining eyes and raced home. Her father carried the basket to the storeroom. I'll take this. You go ahead and sleep, Myne. At least let me wash first. I didn't get the chance yesterday, and I'm feeling gross since I went out. Thule called over. I was just heating water, and I want to get clean too, so let's wipe each other down together. They'd been washing each other for about a year now. Thule had started feeling uncomfortable after 3 days without washing. She prepared the bucket of bathing water near the hearth, the warmest part of their house, and talked while wiping herself down. A year ago, you were doing weird things I didn't understand, and now you're working for money. I don't know what to think about all this. Are you making baskets again this year? Myne asked while wringing a wet towel above the bucket. Thule moved her braid aside and washed behind her neck. The handiwork Mom's job gives pays more than mine, so yeah, I was planning to start cutting wood and peeling bark for it. Wait, what? You don't have to do your job's winter handiwork? Myne had assumed it was mandatory, a quota everyone had to fill. She tilted her head in confusion and Thule giggled. It's just a side job to earn extra money. Some people make a lot. Others are so busy making clothes for their family they can't spare the time. It's not mandatory. Oh, okay. Everyone's in different situations. Myne had been planning to ask her family for help after they finished their quota, but if there wasn't a quota to begin with, maybe Thule could help from the start. She looked at her sister and smiled. My handiwork is making hairpins. I can get 2 middle coppers for each complete flower part. What? Really? That's a lot of money. Can I make them too? Let's do it together, Myne said, and Thule started jumping for joy, her green eyes shining as she planned to make tons of flowers and earn serious money. Hey, Myne, what do I need to do to get ready? Benno gave me all the thread and Lutz is making the pin parts, so nothing really. We just need thin needles to sew them. That's really easy. Thule started laughing, then froze, pointing behind and blinking rapidly. Their mother stood with her hand on her cheek, thinking intensely about something. Myne, could I join you two after finishing your special dress? Lutz, Myne thought with mild panic. My mom looks really pumped about this. We might need more pins. Just as Lutz had predicted, Myne caught a fever. It was a slight fever from exhaustion, nothing like the devouring heat that threatened to consume her alive, so it would probably pass with rest. 3 entire days later, she was still in bed, growing annoyed at the unending fever, but knowing she'd just get yelled at if she tried to leave. She had no choice but to keep lying around despite feeling groggy from too much sleep. "I'm so bored." It was pig day. Unlike last year, her family trusted her enough to leave her home alone, departing early in the morning. They'd left a sandwich for lunch and cups of water by the bed, so she wouldn't go hungry or thirsty. She could have gotten out of bed if she wanted, but that would just make the fever last longer. Without anyone to talk to, the boredom was excruciating. I wish I had a book. She had experimental paper lying around, packed in the bottom of her clothes box, but she'd been too busy to do anything with it since completing those experiments. The quality varied wildly, some near perfect, some falling apart at a touch, some thin enough to see through, some so hard it would crack under pressure. Making books with such inconsistent paper would take serious time. This winter would be busy. Then she remembered. Benno had given her a wooden board to read. She got out of bed, opened her clothes box, and took the A4-sized board from her tote bag, then read it while lying down. This is a curriculum for training new apprentices. The board covered greetings, writing, math, money counting, product knowledge, and supplier names, everything a merchant's apprentice needed to know. Myne's mind raced with possibilities as she studied each section carefully. She could teach Lutz writing, math, and money counting, focusing on practical business terms they'd actually use in their work. Supply orders, for instance, would require both literacy and numeracy. She envisioned lessons built around real examples, writing orders for thread and materials, calculating costs and profits, counting money accurately. It would make the learning relevant and immediately applicable. But she had to acknowledge her limitations honestly. Her vocabulary was severely restricted to work-related words. She knew business terms, crafting terms, basic household words, but sophisticated language, poetry, literature? Her knowledge had gaps you could drive a cart through. She'd need to learn multiplication and division herself first, using the calculator from Mark, before she could teach Lutz properly. Elementary school math would be her starting point, number counting and currency conversion taking priority. The curriculum also emphasized dressing well and customary greetings, both areas where she felt woefully unprepared. The thought of proper merchant attire made her nervous. What did dressing well even mean in this context? And the formal greetings. She'd need to learn the exact phrases, the proper bows, the social hierarchy embedded in each interaction. She made a mental note to consult Benno thoroughly about appropriate attire, costs, and the nuances of merchant etiquette. Despite the fever coursing through her, she felt determined. The heat was oppressive, but she managed to eat her sandwich. As she studied the curriculum, the sections on proper dress and greetings stood out as her biggest challenges. When Lutz finally visited after her fever broke, Thule had told him the good news. Myne shared her study plan immediately, based on Benno's curriculum. Lutz surprised her by revealing he'd been practicing writing and numbers in secret, in dirt and on slate, determined not to forget what he'd learned. Myne felt a swell of pride and taught him how to read large numbers. He caught on remarkably quickly, and they worked their way up to 10 million before Thule interrupted, reminding Lutz he was late for the forest. The next day, Myne and Lutz made their way to Benno's shop. The guard admitted them without hesitation. Benno greeted them warmly, immediately asking about Myne's health. She returned the curriculum board and posed her questions about dressing well and customary greetings. Benno's advice was practical and direct. Save 10 small silvers for work clothes and shoes. You need to present yourselves well if you're going to be taken seriously. He also pointed out that Lutz should speak more politely when addressing customers, suggesting he emulate Mark's manner of speech. Myne, sensing Lutz's apprehension, assured him he could adapt his speech for different contexts, polite with customers, casual with friends. She couldn't help but chuckle at Benno's amused reaction when Lutz attempted a more formal tone. Myne requested a calculator to aid her studies. After brief discussion, she purchased a used one for 6 large coppers. She also inquired about ordering suketa, contract-sized paper, before spring, knowing proper materials would be critical. Benno encouraged her to start writing supply orders, delegating their handling to Mark. He provided more boards and ink, but cautioned her against waste. Ink costs 4 small silvers. Don't be careless with it. As Benno reviewed her supply orders, his expression shifted to admiration. I'm impressed by how few errors you made. I'd be in as much trouble as you if this paper doesn't work out. Then the conversation turned serious. The hair cleaning liquid isn't working. Despite following your instructions, the workshop's product doesn't match yours. I'm concerned about breaching our contract. Could you come to the workshop and identify the problem? Lutz's concern for Myne's health surfaced immediately, but Benno offered to carry her if needed. On the way, he mentioned something else. I want to rename the simple all-in-one shampoo. It's too cumbersome. Myne granted permission, and after brainstorming, they settled on Rinsham, a combination of rinse and shampoo that felt fresh and fitting. The workshop occupied a converted food processing building on the west side of town. The foreman greeted them with frustration etched on his face, explaining their unsuccessful attempts to replicate Myne's Rinsham. Myne asked to observe the process. The foreman demonstrated crushing marrows with weights, not hammers, and wringing out the extracted oil through cloth. Can I see the oil you're using? Myne asked, curiosity piqued. When presented, she immediately noticed the difference. Clear and green, starkly unlike the thick white oil she produced at home. What kind of cloth are you using to wring it out? The foreman showed her. Finely woven fabric, chosen for quality. There was the problem. My family uses rough, threadbare cloths. That's why our oil is thick. It's not pure. Fruit particles and seeds mix in, creating a natural scrub effect. The foreman looked stunned. His attempts to improve quality had backfired. Benno's relief was visible as they identified the issue. Myne, confident in her analysis, suggested adding fruit remnants to pure oil deliberately to create a premium scrub version. Benno's eyes gleamed with predatory interest at the commercial possibilities. Realizing she'd revealed too much, Myne attempted to make her exit. Benno stopped her. How much do you know about this? His tone had shifted. To ward off interrogation, Myne joked about an information fee. Benno wasn't joking. 2 small golds for what you know. When she hesitated, he revealed his hand. The guildmaster told me about your devouring. Money will be essential in managing it. His granddaughter has the same condition. She's only survived through wealth and noble connections. Sell your knowledge. Save money. Prepare for the day you can't control it anymore. A chill ran through Myne. After weighing her options, fear for her life creeping in, she agreed to 3 small golds. Benno seized her supply order set and began writing with fevered intensity. She advised him on improvements. Add salt or dried citrus peel powder to create a cleaning scrub. Noosefruit powder works too. Despite her willingness to help, she refused to reveal more about her personal situation or abilities. Will you sever ties with me because I'm creepy? She asked, seeking reassurance despite the vulnerability in her voice. Benno assured her firmly, You'll make me a lot of money. My only concern is someone else stealing you away. Later, Otto requested Myne's help at the gate. She headed over, outlining her winter availability, limited by her health, unpredictable weather, and her father's work schedule. A soldier suddenly interrupted with urgent news. A Trombe appeared in the forest. Half the guards have gone to deal with it. Otto instructed Myne to keep working and send anyone with letters of introduction his way. Lutz arrived moments later, excitement in his voice. I need to talk to you. Then Myne's father rushed over, carrying a massive log on his shoulder. I chopped down a Trombe. He explained that Trombe wood didn't burn well, unsuitable for firewood, but could be carved into furniture that would survive a house fire. Lutz showed Myne thin young branches he'd collected. Nearby, other children were throwing their scraps on the ground, complaining they were worthless. Myne, seeing opportunity where others saw waste, asked if she could have them. The kids, recognizing the young branches were too weak for furniture making, happily surrendered their wood. With their collection growing, possibilities flared in Myne's mind. We need to use this within 5 to 7 days, Lutz reminded her. The problem, they lacked enough firewood to boil water for papermaking. We should talk to Benno about this. At Benno's store, the guard stopped Lutz, too messy to enter. Mark escorted Myne inside instead. A Trombe appeared in the forest, she told Benno, and we managed to get wood from it. Benno stood immediately. Did you get any? When she confirmed, he asked why it would be difficult to turn into paper. We don't have enough firewood to boil water for a full bell. You idiot! Benno's patience snapped before she could explain the river would be too cold. Think about how much cheaper firewood is than rare Trombe wood. Don't tell me you can't understand investing in materials for profit. I thought you'd say that. Can we go to the lumberyard with Mark to buy firewood? Where's Lutz? Outside. We came right after he got back from the forest, so he's too messy to come in. Benno summoned Mark, who went to check if Myne was well enough for the lumberyard. Write the supply order here, Benno instructed, providing board and ink. When Myne asked how much wood to order, he advised writing enough for an hour of boiling. They'd sell a little more than needed, which was ideal. Mark returned from talking to Lutz. Myne would do well not to walk further today. If she's finished the supply order, I'll go to the lumberyard with Lutz. After they departed, Benno handed Myne several boards, advice for merchants, discussing key points about contracts. As she pored over them, realization struck. Mr. Benno, does the wood Mark's buying count as part of your initial investment? Benno looked at her silently, waiting. Also, why did you say you were done investing after we finished the prototypes? Didn't the magic contract say you'd pay for everything until our baptism? Shouldn't the expensive sucata count? Finally noticed, huh? What? Why'd you trick us? I didn't trick you. I tested you to see if you remembered the contract. I was curious how you'd react if I broke it. You didn't say anything, so I figured you forgot. Myne struggled for words, then managed to return his glare. I thought it made sense for you to stop paying after the prototypes. I never expected you were tricking us. Magic contracts burn up. I couldn't double-check. Benno snorted, smug. It's exactly because they burn up that you have to write it down elsewhere or burn it into memory. You were naive. He wasn't wrong. The magical punishment for breaking contracts had made her complacent. I'll try not to make the same mistake again. You followed up on it, so I'll pay for your stuff. That's what you agreed to anyway. Wouldn't not paying be a breach? It'd only be a breach if I refuse to pay. You not following up is your problem. Now that you have, I'll pay. It won't be a breach if I do. Remember this if you want to be a merchant. Myne groaned in frustration. Benno grinned broader. If you hadn't noticed after reading about contracts, I would have wrung you dry. She understood he was trying to help her grow as a merchant, even giving hints, but it was still frustrating. As she studied the boards more intently, Benno paused his work. Could you start your winter handiwork early? I need 10 to 20 hairpins of varying colors soon. The guildmaster bragged so much about his granddaughter's hairpin that people are asking. Some I can't refuse. Won't that ruin the special feeling for Freda, being the only one with a flower hairpin during the baptism ceremony? Myne didn't know if it was smart to undermine their overcharging justification. Benno's eyes shifted. Her hairpin will be the only one made to match her outfit. Store-bought ones are completely different. In that case, I'll charge extra, change in schedule, change in price. Myne smiled while requesting higher commission. When you get the chance to earn money, take it and profit as much as possible, right? I'm learning from your example. Benno frowned. 10 middle coppers per hairpin. You can't complain about twice the pay. That won't do. Choose 11 or 13. Splitting the money won't work smoothly otherwise. They'd already told their families 2 coppers for flower parts and 1 for pin parts. An odd number of leftover coppers would make division with Lutz a headache. Fine, 11 middle coppers, you dirty merchant. I am positively delighted to receive such lavish praise from one of your esteem. Benno looked exasperated and amused. Seriously, where are you learning these words? Myne shrugged. Could I have pay for 1 hairpin now? I could take it from savings, but I'd prefer early pay. Why? I need to cast a spell on my family to make them work fast. She'd need Mom and Tuli's help to finish 10 hairpins before snow fell, and motivating them would require strategy. Her mother, who'd done winter handiwork most of her life, would know immediately how ridiculously high the pay was. 2 middle coppers per flower part was extraordinary compensation. She might feel suspicious, worried they'd make all these hairpins only to discover Benno wouldn't actually pay. Merchants could be unscrupulous after all, especially with children. But if Myne could show her the money up front, tangible proof that Benno honored his agreements, both motivation and trust would soar. Her mother would work with genuine enthusiasm rather than hesitant skepticism, and Thule would feed off that energy. The upfront payment wasn't just about money, it was about building confidence in their venture and ensuring her family threw themselves wholeheartedly into production.